All right, everybody, we've started recording the call. Thank you for joining us for NAI Capital Commercial's kickoff of our 1031 Exchange DST program. Chris Jackson and Michelle Stein are going to be joining us, along with Ryan Campbell. Jonathan Black, our sort of attorney in residence, and we also have our preferred 1031 expert, Eric Brescher, in the call. Additionally, we've got Dwayne Lund joining us from NAI Legacy. We're going to talk about briefly what a DST is and a 1031 solution, but really the big thing is NAI Capital is now dedicated to having a 1031 exchange program for our brokers. So if you go in to get a listing, oftentimes the biggest question from your client is, hey, if I hire you, how do I know I can get a 1031 exchange done? Now the answer will be, well, we've got some 1031 programs, some projects now. You might like it. If you like it, we'll sign you up. And if not, the second you sell your property, we'll reserve, let's say you got a $3 million exchange, we'll reserve $3 million of this project for you. And then on day 45, if you haven't found something to identify, we've got you this project here as a backup. So with that, I want to see if we've got Chris and Michelle. Are you guys in the call? Oh, they'll join us in a second. So I'm going to assume that most people know what a DST is, but I'm going to go over a brief overview quickly anyway. A DST stands for Delaware Statutory Trust. Years ago, if you had 3 different 1031s or 10 different 1031s trying to buy a property together, they would do it under what was known as a tenant in common or TIC structure. That doesn't really work as well as it used to for a lot of reasons I won't bore you with. But the IRS did approve shares of a Delaware Statutory Trust to qualify as a real estate sale. So we wanted to create a DST program in California under NAI Capital. In most states, you have to be a broker dealer or a registered investment advisor in order to sell DST interests. In California, a California licensed broker can sell a DST interest to a California resident and get paid. So these fees are going to be available to brokers. We've got a couple of DST projects lined up. We've got Dwayne from NAI Legacy, who's already been doing DSTs for a few years, and we're working on creating some DST products with him here in California. So they've also got some background and expertise, and we've created some DSTs over the years. So, Eric, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. Briefly, can you explain why DSTs count for 1031 exchanges?
Sure. So back in 2004, via 2004-86, the IRS blessed Delaware Statutory Trust structures as both replacement property for a 1031 exchange, and they can also be sold and exchanged into other real property. So there are a variety of interesting nuances around Delaware Statutory Trust. Probably, Gian, probably good to also inform everybody that these can only be sold to accredited investors, and meaning that they have a net worth of $1 million outside of their primary residence. There are also some income thresholds, 200,000 for individual and 300, I believe, for a married couple. There are also some different thresholds about accreditation for trusts. So again, these are all things that you should just be aware of. It's not for everybody, but they are, and I look forward to hearing, John, about your specific. I think we chatted in the past about some things that were on the horizon, but what's great about them is they do provide passive income in institutional grade properties. They can take care of, as we call boot, if there is a residual piece. If you're working with somebody that sells for $2 million and is going to buy something for $1.5 million, and they have 500,000 left over that is not really much to do in some other asset, well, the DST can take care of that 500,000. And
I call it spackle. So if you got a little
go.
left over, you can kind of just spackle over your 1031 with the numbers. By the way, to clarify, Eric, it's $1 million in net worth outside of the house or income thresholds. And then
Yeah.
there's another one, which is if you're sort of considered an expert in the field. But if you've got somebody with a $2 million sale or $2 million worth of money, they got a place for a 1031, they're automatically qualified. We'll walk you through all that stuff. And we can walk you through all the steps. So the ask, every call you have, you should have an ask. Our ask is if you're doing a 1031 with a client, um, please bring them to us. Let us introduce what we have and let us help you complete their 1031 exchange. NAI Capital is the largest NAI affiliate out of NAI Global. We've got over 200 brokers and 13 offices, and we do $1.1 to $1.5 billion a year. That's who NAI Capital is. So we've got a lot of clients that need help in different areas, and the ones that need help with 1031 exchanges, this is kind of a unique opportunity to do it. I'm going to open up the floor to questions now because we just covered a lot of ground. All right. It's always good when there's not questions.
Yeah, while everybody's being bashful, I just thought, just to kind of also explain about the DSTs, unlike a TIC investment, which you mentioned earlier, the Delaware Statutory Trusts can't do capital calls. So that's sort of a important point for people to understand that, you're never going to be looked to come up with money to do improvements. And, north of $5 billion a year have been going into Delaware Statutory Trust year over year. It is a very important strategy for real estate investors.
Guys, I just threw up. Our very first DST has to be incredibly safe, right? We can't have something where clients run into a problem. I've heard about a couple of DSTs recently that ran into trouble. Maybe you guys have heard about it. These are not us. So our DSTs have to be incredibly safe. The first asset we've picked is a hotel we already owned. We've spent the last couple of years doing renovations. We're finally almost done with the renovations. It's a hotel in Santa Barbara. It's a couple of blocks from the beach. It's between the pier and the marina, a quick walk to State Street. You probably walk there, and then they have all the wine tasting rooms. You probably stagger home at night. The DST that we're doing has a $2.75 million minimum reserve. So that's designed that if COVID hits and the hotel is shut down for 2 years, it's enough to pay all the bills and still give the investors their 6% return. Not quite, but pretty darn close to full 2 years. So we wanted a very safe investment for the clients so that you guys aren't embarrassed. 6% return is pretty good for Santa Barbara. We just got a package for a 50-room hotel that's at a 3.5 cap being marketed. So even in this environment, there's just something about Santa Barbara. And the last really cool thing about this project in Santa Barbara, if you have a 1031 investor and they want to check it out, they can always go up there for the night, right? It's pretty easy to kind of touch it. And we're setting up a program where, let's say you put 100 grand in, 2% of that is $2,000, right? So if you put 100,000 in as an investor, 2% per year can be used to pay for a discount on rooms. So you get rooms 50% off up to that 2 grand. And what we're going to do is, if you have a month like June, let's say you anticipate 30% vacancy, we'll use that 30% vacancy to fill with investors. So now you can go up there, you can see the hotel, you can rent the room, you get a discounted rate because you're one of the owners, and you get to tell everybody around you that you're one of the owners of the hotel. So we think it's pretty cool. Unlike, you own a warehouse somewhere and you can just drive by it at a high rate of speed. So we've got a really cool product. This is the first one. We've only got, out of a $17.5 million equity stack, we only have a little over 7 million, maybe 8 million available. The rest of it's already gone. And we're trying to get people used to it so that we can then go into our next DST product. We're shooting for January for close dates, right? We can obviously start taking subscriptions before that, just like a normal escrow. But we're working on a $100 million industrial project that pays 6% on a long-term lease to a $15 billion publicly traded company, and the rents are below market. So we're looking at having the very next DST product lined up in the next month or so. And I think we'll probably be sold out of this Santa Barbara project in the next couple of weeks to a month, maybe 2 months because it's summer.
Hey, John,
that-
I was thinking, one thing that's, at least from my standpoint, when you had talked about this previously, until I actually physically visited the property and saw the inside and drove around. I mean, everybody sees the map, so it's killer. You see it, but I think when you actually, and maybe you have some videos or anything else we can send to people, but I think if you actually see the site, it really gets you like motivated, more motivated than just seeing this. I think it's important.
Well,
John, you also have oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you have a question from Todd Rosardi in the chat here about, are you taking funds outside of exchange money?
Oh yeah, money's money, guys. Absolutely, we're taking investments. It's just not everybody wants a 6% return. Some people want more than that. So it's a good solution for 1031s, but we're absolutely taking money for that. And the way we're paying a 6% brokerage fee on the money that's put in. So we can't pay you on the debt that's already there, but if somebody, but the debt's small, it's only 21% loan to value. But if somebody puts 100,000 in, there's $6,000 available as a brokerage fee for you, which you're going to love this. Whatever your splits are with the company's got to get its share, but your share you can take as DST interest. So if you want DST shares put into your retirement account or whatever, you don't have to take your fee as cash. You can take your fee as shares. And Anthony Price with the timeline, we are going to start scheduling closes for August 1st. Jonathan Black and I are finishing up the paperwork, but we should have that done in the next week or so. And then starting anytime August 1st on, we can have a closing. And they're rolling closings. It's whenever somebody wants to do it after that, we can just do it.
Gianna, I got a couple of questions. This is Chris Runyon. One is, what is the ability to jump in on something like this? Do we have reserve shares if someone were to get into one of these down the road, like after the beach house is closed out? Are we holding anything to make room for somebody to come in late to the game? And then if they need to get out and move on to something else, what is the process for doing that?
So great question. Actually, two great questions. I'm going to start with the second one because it's the coolest part about it, in my opinion. In most DSTs, once you're in, right? And you got to wait until they wind the DST down, which is often 10 years later before you can get your money back. With ours, if you put your client into it and then 2 years from now they want to sell it, or let me tell you what the realistic scenario is, and this is a little depressing, but this is more realistic. You got an 80-year-old person, they invest in it, they pass away, so now there's a step up in basis for their heirs, and their heirs say, you know something, I want the cash. They reach out to you, the broker, and we say, great. Well, as we get 1031 buyers, we're going to put it in front of them, and we'll let somebody come in and buy it. So what's the price on the resale? It depends on the market. If this thing's throwing off 6% and you've got a 5% market, they might make money on it. If you're selling it at a 6% and it's a 7% market, they might lose a little money, just like any real estate deal, right? You're buying it at a 6 cap, you're selling it at a whatever the market is. So this will allow the brokers to continue generating fees. So we're pretty excited about that. We can only sell out to the maximum available. So we've got about 8 million coming up available. There's going to be another couple of million that may come up available in this one about a year from now. I personally have the largest chunk of this. So I've probably got a little over $2 million in there right now. So if somebody came to me and said, hey, John, I want to get into this thing, would you carve off some of your share? I would. But the idea is we're going to keep having other DSTs. So if they miss this one, we'll have the next one. And if they miss that one, we'll have the one after that. This is a new program for us. We're going to consistently have, if we can find stuff that we like, that we believe in, we're going to consistently have DST for you guys. The first one's a hotel. The one after that's going to be industrial. And we actually have 96 rooms. This is 13 rooms. We've got 96 rooms around it that they want to sell to us, that we were about to buy it, and they said, hey, let's do it in 2 years. It's a 70-something-year-old lady. We're going to buy another 96 rooms out there immediately around this property. So there's going to be more properties in Santa Barbara that we buy. We did not buy the Franciscan, that hotel that's at a 3.5 cap, because even if you buy it at a 5 or 5.5 cap, there's not enough meat on that bone for the investors.
Yeah. And then the process, like if you close one out in August, for example, and somebody goes under contract to sell a property in September, closes in November, we don't particularly have anything right at that moment. How are they doing this where they've got 6 months to close, but need to identify within 45 days of their close?
No,
If a DST, does that give you a bigger window to do this?
No, we will, because we're literally working on putting the next one under agreement now. So the next one, so let's say we close out, we start in August and we're done selling it in August, right? And you've got a client who sells their property in September. The next project we have is that industrial project, that $100 million industrial project. They can identify, assuming we get it into escrow, which I think we will, well, we'll have something. You can identify in September and just close in January, or identify in October and just close on January. We'll be selling that one targeting the 10th or the 15th of January. And then that one.
But you're identifying when you're doing like a 1031 exchange where you have to identify in those 45 days the DST particular property and not just the DST in general, right?
Right. You gotta identify the exact DST. So we would have that next. So right now it would be, and I don't think we finalized the name on this yet, Chris. I sent a couple of options, but I think it's the NAI Santa Barbara Hotel DST. So you would identify it. We'd help you do that. We'd show you exactly how to do that, and you'd identify now. So let's say tomorrow's day 45. You would use Eric or whoever your QI 1031 guy is. You identify it as the X percentage of the NAI Santa Barbara Hotel Fund, and then you don't close until August 1st, right? But day 45 is tomorrow, you ID. If you're selling in October or November, like you just described, it would be the NAI Curtis Ranch DST, a certain percentage, and you just wouldn't be able to close, your expected close date would be January 10th, but you could identify it in September or October.
Okay, but you treat it pretty much the same as you would a 1031 exchange where the identification is specific to the property and not GPS or.
It's exactly the same.
Yes.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
We'll help you fill it out, the form, because there's a little bit of a nuance to it. But what we're trying to get to is, instead of having to, let's say you ID'd that in October and we can't close till January. Once we pick that one up, we wanted a nice big one. So 100 million is a lot of money, right? We wanted a big one, so it's big enough that you say, hey, I'm closing my property in February. I like this thing. I like getting 6% return on industrial in LA County, right? So, February 3rd in the morning, you close your property. That afternoon, you own the DST shares. It's over. You're done. Your whole 1031's done the day of. You don't have to wait the 45 days. You don't have to wait the 180 days. So once we have consistent on-the-shelf DST program product, you can close both properties at the same time.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
And on the bigger one, are we looking at all as far as pulling aside some shares in that to keep an open-ended thing? Because I'm assuming once that goes through, that's going to deplete a lot of their interests for some time. That means we might have a window of time where we don't have anything to offer until the next small one, big one, whatever it may be. Are we pulling anything aside that someone can jump into later? Or is that close of acquisition have to happen?
No, it doesn't have to happen at so it's a great question. How are we actually doing this, right? Because DSTs have something called the warehousing problem. And the warehousing problem is, if you're just doing DSTs, you got to buy this thing and hold it somehow while you sell it out. We've spent the last couple of years with Chris and Michelle and Jonathan and Ryan. Well, I don't know how Ryan didn't tell us to stop, so that was good. Thank you, Ryan. But we spent the last couple of years building up these funds. So we now have the GPS Opportunity Fund, which is NAI's kind of catch-all fund. We've got the GPS SoCal Industrial Fund, which is what's buying that property up in Santa Clarita. And so we have funds that are going to be buying these things so that we always have something to sell. Once it's sold out, I mean, we're going to have to keep a piece of it, like the Santa Barbara one, because I'm the guarantor on that Lifeco lease. I've got to keep probably at least $500,000 of that at all times. Taking a step back on how all this stuff works, we're working on finalizing the new, the NAI finance, which is probably going to be called something slightly different. I don't want to make that announcement yet. But the folks that are going to be running finance for us are the folks that gave me the loan on this thing 2 years ago, right? When we do these long-term, the reason we can do a DST that doesn't actually have to end for 20 or 25 years is because we're using life insurance company money. They'll actually give us the money for the full 25 years. But they do require a personal guarantee. So we're going to have to keep a piece of all of these deals. We covered a lot of ground in 21 minutes. Holy shnikes. Chris, does that answer the question?
Yeah. And for those that haven't been to the beach house, I think the coolest thing, and John, I mentioned this the other day in the email to you, is this is a perfect little property for LA companies to do little retreats and families to do like reunions, or it's small enough and it's got an open courtyard in the middle where everybody's doors just kind of face out to each other. It's ideal for that. It's really cool. So if you haven't been up there, haven't seen closer shots that Chris Jackson was mentioning, you might want to delve a little more into it and look into it. It's pretty cool.
Or as somebody else mentioned to me back in the 50s, they used to send their wives to weekend getaways so they could have some time off.
Yeah, it's perfect.
We're working on a couple things. One of them is, when we do our annual, broker awards, maybe we can reserve for a weekend and go up there and have 13 rooms for the family, right? And then
do you have
when you get
your
the other
guy
ones
up
too.
there? Do you have your guy up there that could do like a quick video of the property to kind of send out as a link to show some people?
Yeah, I actually have a video of one of the rooms. I didn't choose the music, but if you guys reach out to me, I have a video that I can share with you that's on my Facebook page, of going through one of the rooms. And I think when you see the walkthrough, you're going to be pretty floored. I mean, it's
as long as it's not Hawaiian music and you dancing in LA, I'm fine.
Or dancing and nothing.
Listen, in this, yeah, I was going to say, in this era of careful what you say on recorded calls, I'm going to shut up now. But we're pretty pumped about this place. It took a long time to put this together. Santa Barbara is unbelievably hard to deal with. The last big hurdle we had to close on getting our building permits and finalizing this thing, even though we already kind of built it, was asbestos abatement that where anywhere else in the world you could have just encapsulated, but apparently we had to abate it. We just finished that yesterday. So the timing on this is really good. There's a master lease in place. So, even if we don't finish construction until the middle of August instead of the 1st of August, the operating company running this thing has really healthy reserves. And if somebody wants to get up there and check it out, just let me know. I'll figure out how to get you up there. But also, if anybody's interested in seeing a video, just let me know and I'll find you on Facebook.
John, are you going to have like an investment package or a deck put together that a broker can share with their client on the return and operating expenses, all that?
Yeah, we're working on that right now. I want to show you the basic piece of it. Hold on a sec. Helps if I get to the right screen here. Okay, I'm about to share my screen. So this is the basic pro forma. We're going to pretty it up, right? But it's a very simple pro forma because you've got a triple net lease to the operating company, right? So you get a little over $1.4 million coming in triple net every year. You pay the mortgage, you end up with $1,050,000. That's exactly 6%. And then you also have amortization. So we're going to have returns before and after amortization. This is a fully amortizing loan. A lot of these DSTs use interest-only loans. This is fully amortizing. So if you stay in this thing for 20 years, the loan's going to burn down to basically nothing, which is kind of cool. But
I don't know if
some,
you see anything on the screen. It looks blank on my side.
oh, you don't see it?
I can
I see it.
Hey, Joan.
I see it.
So if this is a master lease, the next question I would be asking is, what is the true income that it's receiving as the hotel?
So a DST has to be passive, and Jonathan or Eric can probably jump in here for a second, but in order for it to qualify as a DST, it has to be treated at, Jonathan, what was that quote?
Yeah, a fixed investment trust, John.
So it's got to be a fixed investment trust. A fixed investment trust can't do anything. Literally can't do anything. Can't do a repair, can't renegotiate a mortgage, can't sign a mortgage doc. It's got to be fully passive. So what we've done is we've created a lease that's got, some bumps in there, and we've got an operating company that's going to be running it. But the way this lease is set up, we would have to drop out of a DST structure. So we'd have to make sure we're not blowing up anybody's 1031 exchange, but we can go to what's called a springing LLC. And if we go to a springing LLC structure, the DST owners can terminate the lease. So if we see that the operator is making too much money, we can terminate the lease and just take over the thing. And probably we're going to terminate the lease and roll it into the other hotels eventually anyway. So I'd like to have all the hotels under the same umbrella. But we start getting into the weeds. The long story short is we can't do anything, so we've got to be in a fully bound lease. But if we don't like the difference between what we're making and what the operator's making, we have the ability to terminate the lease.
So can we see what that is? As an
Yeah.
investor, do we get to see the difference between that lease and the true income?
Well, what we're trying to do is do twice a year statements on this is what we're getting from the tenant. And the tenant's got to give those statements to the DST. So yeah, you'll be able to see it.
Okay, so if an investor, I'm talking as an investor. So John, if I I'm going to give you 3 million, but can I see the last 3 years of true income?
We've spent the last 2 years renovating the hotel, so yeah, I can draw zero about as good as anybody else can.
Okay, well, maybe not this. Any of the investments that we're talking about that
Oh,
we
yeah.
put together a package.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
I would want to be able to drill down and truly know the true income, right?
Right.
I mean, it could be making zero, but the lease is paying, and there's no real income behind it. Who knows?
But by the way, when we bought the beach house in the first place, it was done with a DST. So you've got two sets of investors. You've got the investors who were the DST owners, and even though it wasn't open for the last 2 years, they've been getting their money every month. And then you've got the other set of investors who are running the operating company who did all the repairs. So now that we're done, those two groups are merging together. So that's why a chunk of this is already pre-sold. It's the existing investors.
Okay.
But DSTs are passive investments. They're not for guys who want to run people that want to run the day-to-day of a hotel. This is not for you. For a 1031, absolutely. But some people want to, we've dealt with a lot of 1031 guys over the years. They want to buy something and actively run it. It's not for them. This is for the folks who want to go passive. Anthony, did I answer your timeline question? All right, I think we're good. I was going to show you guys one more thing, assuming I can find it. I may have a picture of the video. We could end this out with a video, but I don't know how videos play on this. Do they play, like if I'm playing a video, will it come through well? Anybody know?
Should.
No
Bueller?
idea.
I guess we'll find out, right? Let's see. I don't think anybody wants to see a picture of my kid playing lacrosse.
So John, as a final, I guess, operational question. So if somebody has a good bite, somebody has an investor, somebody has a client, they're reaching out directly to you, and you're jumping on a call with them and their clients. What would you like to, how would you like to direct the brokers to approach this?
Well, reach out to me first. Oh, hold on a second. I'm screwing stuff up here. Reach out to me first, and I will be able to, and I'll be able to walk the client through the investment and see if it's a good fit for them. But yeah, the first step is if you've got a client that you think might be interested, or if you've got questions, just call me. I'll walk you through it. And then if after that call you think it's good for your client, let's set up a call and get you there. If they need an opinion from, Jonathan Black, our lawyer, or if their lawyer wants to hear something about it, we'll put him in. We're working on getting a tax opinion on this thing from Jonathan. We've got Eric Brescher on the call as our 1031 guy because we've worked with him before and he understands how these work. So I think that would be pretty good. But yeah, I would say what the ask is, if you've got somebody who wants to invest in something like this, or more specifically, somebody that wants to do a 1031, please introduce them to us. I'm going to try to play this video. I don't know if it's going to work. You guys can just tell me if it's awful. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
That's one of the rooms. So I'm going to hit play. And again, I apologize for the music. Oh, I muted it. Good, even better. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
That's one of the rooms. It's one of the larger rooms. We've got, I think we're going to end up with 4 large rooms like this. And then the rest will be smaller. I think 10 out of the 13 have full kitchens, which is really nice. The rest have kitchenettes. And they're really designed for, you've got a lot of folks coming in from Europe who would stay for a couple of weeks. So they would want a place with a kitchen. That's not a picture. That's a TV on the left. The couch pulls out to a queen size bed. So these are designed for longer term stays.
Do you have a limit on the amount of days?
At 29 days, we're moving you to another room.
Perfect.
We're not going to take the chance of creating squatters with occupancy rights. So not a bad looking little spot, right?
Makes you want to be there right now.
I do want to be there right now. Guys, it's a 2-block walk to the beach. It's a couple of blocks to the marina where there's a lot of restaurants and some cool stuff. A couple of blocks to the pier, which is, the beginning of State Street. And State Street has all of those really cool restaurants and wine tasting areas. So I think this might be a nice little project for folks. And we're also working with management to see what sorts of things we can do for rooms for brokers who, like producers, that sort of thing. So whenever we have a vacancy coming up, we're going to try to use that pretty creatively. It's a nice thing to own a hotel.
Hey, Gian, I apologize if you already answered this question. I jumped on a little late, but so how long is there a current lease in place right now, and how long is that lease, and how is the credit, or who's the guarantor?
So there's a brand new lease starting August 1st, because that's our target date for this thing, to an operating company. And then that operating company is going to have a minimum of 2.75 million in reserves. So that's the credit enhancement, as it's got basically on a 10-year lease, it's got 2 years worth of rent and operating expenses sitting in the bank.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming it's a sophisticated operating company that's done this before, or this is not their first rodeo.
Jeff Chain, you want to jump in? He's not here.
Yes, I'm sorry. I got it buried there.
The question is, does the operator know anything about running hotels? And since that's you,
Yes, I owned 44 units in Las Vegas for about 5 years. Sold those a few years ago now. Through the fund, we owned 59 other units in Las Vegas. So we have the background of operating. This is certainly a small, high-tech property where we're not going to have any on-site people. Everything's going to be done through websites and cell phones. And then we have standby cleaning folks, maintenance folks, things like that to fill in any gaps that we come along with.
yeah, we're doing an Airbnb model where basically there's no actual office. And the reason we want to buy the other 96 rooms around it is it'll create a really good economy of scale on cleaning and actually give us a dedicated management office about 100 feet away.
Got it. And as far as costs and things of that, obviously, I know things have increased quite a bit across the board with a lot of vendors, but I'm assuming you have a Rolodex full of potential vendors in the market and all that. You have
Yeah,
a pretty good idea of costs.
The good news
Correct.
is our costs should go down like insurance. Like right now we're trying to cut, believe it or not, it looks like we might be able to cut our insurance in half. We've got solar on the thing, so the utility shouldn't go up too badly. Solar with backup batteries. And it's a brand new renovation. So, there's costs we can't control, but Santa Barbara, how much gas are you using, I mean, the cost should be okay. Insurance is obviously the big bogey, but we've got some room in there on our pro forma because we're using the old insurance numbers and we should be cutting that in half, based on some bids we're getting right now. And then cleaning is cleaning, that sort of thing.
Great. What's the percentage? Is there a percentage number of kind of break even, or what's the targeted occupancy?
So the good news is there's very little debt on this thing. We've only got a 20% loan to value. So I had created a couple of best case, worst case scenario spreadsheets, and the reserve was built to handle our pessimistic scenario. And the pessimistic scenario is, occupancy drops another 15-20%, rents drop another, $100 per room per night on average. And our reserves would allow us to go the full 5 years and give 6% return to the client. So we've stress tested this by beating up we didn't beat up the operating numbers, we beat up the revenue numbers.
Got it. Great. All good stuff. Appreciate it.
Well, this is the first one, guys. We can't take chances.
Well, I'm going to get this in front of my mother-in-law, so you can imagine the chance I'll be taking if I can get her to move forward on this. That's something I don't want to live with for the rest of my life. So
There you go. There you go. No comment.
I appreciate the all good intel here.
Anybody else have questions? I think we're going to be doing some follow-up announcements as well. But the good news is we've been working on this for a couple of years, guys. I mean, really, we've been working on this for a couple of years. We're finally there. And the hope is we might, if we sell this out in, the next couple of months, we may not be able to do any more closings until January, but then we should be going. And then we've got a couple of minutes. Dwayne, are you still in here? Dwayne Lund?
Dwayne's not, but I am, Spencer Lund.
Hey, Spencer, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So the Lunds have NAI Legacy, which has been doing a lot of DSTs for how long, Spencer?
We've been doing it for about 5 years now.
So we're looking to partner up with these guys because they've been selling their stuff through the broker dealer and RIA network. They saw that that Scottsdale VCA hospital I circulated a little while back. If you guys remember seeing that, they've got a couple of other projects. So we're looking really closely at teaming up with Spencer and his team on some of these DSTs because they've got a pretty good track record of doing it, and they also have a lot of product. The nuance is, I think we've got to be working with California product. right? We're still running that down, Spencer, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But if we can open the door to product in other states, that might be pretty good. I think most California investors want to see their investments, so I think it's going to be easier if we do California stuff. But we've been talking to these guys for a while, and they're looking at the industrial project and the hotel projects with us. So as those materialize more, there may be a couple of different NAI offices in the country working together, which was another one of our big goals. All right, guys, any other questions? Oh, in that case, I'm going to end the call. I really want to thank everybody for their time. It's hard to get 40 people together on a Friday afternoon. We're going to be circulating a recording of this call. I'm just going to finish up with the ask. Please, if your clients are interested in an investment, or if you've got a 1031 exchange client that wants options, please put them in front of us. We've set this up to allow you guys to get more listings and make more brokerage fees, and also take care of our clients and keep them kind of in the fold with us. I'll end this recording now.